Trekkies and Trekkers. Welcome to this amazing Star Trek podcast on Trek Tuesday. I'm your host Dorinda, and together with my lovely co-host Amanda Hopper, we recap every 2 weeks an episode of Star Trek TNG. All the episodes will be recapping chronically following. We will approach each episode with humor and a feminine look. Today we recap the episode We Always Have Paris. So guys, let's call Amanda again. Hello Amanda.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm good, and I guess you saw on my page that I had to go see the eye doctor. They prescribed me. Yeah, they prescribed me some eye drops, and they want me to have progressive lenses. That sucks. You get old, you gotta get progressive lenses with transition lenses. No. Well, I know one thing. He did the test there yesterday. Yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. It was actually kind of funny when we did it, because it wasn't just that. He had to dye my eyes yellow for a test.
Okay.
And you know what I said? I'm like, hey, I look like Data.
I was already thinking that.
Do. He's like, yeah, you do. Not the first time I had that done. They had to do multiple tests on my eyes, so. Yeah.
Well, let's start with the episode.
Alrighty then.
Yeah. What do you think about the episode in general? It was a Captain Picard episode this time.
Yeah, it was mostly like Picard episode.
With a little bit, and that's one thing I liked about this episode, a little bit of hinting with a romance between him and Beverly. But the Enterprise had just had a mission, and they were plotting a course to Serona A to have short leave. And Picard was granting himself a little bit early of a short leave, and he went fencing with one of the crew members. And I think this is one.
But to say something, I got distracted by the sirens outside. Yeah, he enjoys fencing, and he also, when we find out in a future episode, he also enjoys to go horseback riding on the holodeck. And he's really good at it. Yeah, he enjoys his fencing. He enjoys his Shakespeare, and apparently in a certain episode there, when he's in the holodeck and Data shows up, you see that he loves riding horses, and it'll show up in other episodes where he mentioned that he likes riding horses with an English saddle.
That was that episode when the Enterprise was been overrun by I can't remember what it was. It wasn't the Ferengi. It was something else, and another group. Wasn't that with Tim Russ on the Enterprise? I thought it was with Tim Russ, but there was all the crew was. I think they beamed down or whatever, and he was the only one still on. Oh, was that in Nemesis? I can't remember.
Well, I can't remember, but I know on that episode when he said that the ship was taken over, and he was also going to go horseback riding. They were like doing a sweep.
Yeah,
of the
because
ship
he had a saddle in his arms.
Yeah.
On his arms. That was the one.
Yeah.
That was an episode. But okay, he loved fencing, and this is one of the first time we see him fencing. But this was also an episode that he showed us Paris, and we see that he is hungering for home, and we see this is the first time we see something about his past life and love interests. Although I must say the view that he had to watch the Paris Tower of the Eiffel Tower is that it wasn't that beautiful sight with all the industry buildings around it. I was really thinking, okay, is that your view that you like? Then I would better go for that little cafe where he was in. The Enterprise is on its way, and there was a moment that they came into a time loop. So everything has been...
Deja vu?
I don't want to say deja vu, but it is in some kind of a slower time. So you do something and then 3 seconds later it happens again.
Yeah, that happened like in the movie The Matrix when the cat walked off and shook and walked off, and he did it again. And Keanu Reeves' character goes, "Oh, deja vu," and Morpheus like, "What?" It's basically like that.
This episode is also around Dr. Manheim's projects of time, and his wife was a former love interest of Captain Picard, and it was really weird to see how he reacted on her.
I think he was a bit surprised.
In one way, yeah. And I remember that scene with Beverly in sickbay, and that Janice was her name.
Janice, okay.
Janice, but like she said also in the episode, they had unfinished business because day before Picard enlisted and started by Starfleet, they would met in this cafe, really nice cafe, and he stood her up, and she went talk to him and asked him, "Why did you stood me up? I have waited for a long time in there." And he told the truth. He said, "Well, I was very scared, and that's why I didn't turn up." And the funny part of that is that she said, "Oh, couldn't you lie to me? I want to have a better explanation about that." So he said some things around it and make a joke of it, and but I do so think she has played some more roles in episodes of Star Trek.
Yeah, I think she has played some other roles in Star Trek. I just don't remember, but I'm sure she has. She's probably played some roles in the original series, probably. I don't think she would, but...
I don't know about that. But...
Probably not. Oh. Mostly in TNG, probably. Huh.
I think also when... and that was I think that was a little bit close to his own truth. When he go first to the holodeck 3 to set that up in Paris, where he was 22 years ago... there was a woman exactly like her, and he was, that woman was stood up too, and he was giving her advice. And when he noticed that it was the same situation he had with Janice, it was really uncomfortable for him.
Because if you stood somebody up 22 years ago, you'd be a tad uncomfortable too.
And she's gonna be on a ship.
Yeah.
So, but it was really awkward moments between them, and you could see that in through the episode. And one of the part too, and I think in this episode, Data had a big role to play to solve the problem. Mm-hmm. And did you notice, by the way, that Data's skin was very white, glittery? Normally it isn't like that.
Yeah, like he was a bit like a emo pale android, and glittery.
Yeah, they did it too much this time.
Yeah, they might have went a little overboard with the dusting.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they tried something else. I can't remember. So.
Well, yeah, it's the first season, so they're trying different tricks and stuff. Can't fault them for that. They're just trying different techniques.
Yeah. So but the part also is that Dr. Manheim is a very intelligent man, and he reminds me a lot of the other scientists that also had a wife, and it was all about them work that they have. And what he also was figuring out was that he could go with this kind of an experiment to go to another dimension, and what happens is that his head was in two places, in two dimensions, and one in the reality and one in another dimension, and that makes him very ill.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, he's ill. Because now I'm clicking in that he had half in the dimension and half out of the dimension. So yeah, that was making him sick.
Yeah.
Now I'm clicking in. Oh, jeez.
And there was this moment when they finally could beam them up to into the sick bay, because Dr. Manheim had those epileptic seizures, but Beverly was very intrigued by Dr. Manheim, and also with Janice, because I think she knows who Janice was out of the stories of Jean-Luc. And there was a funny scene with Counselor Troy, when Counselor Troy came into the sick bay, and she told Dr. Crusher, well, I was come to look how it goes with Dr. Manheim, but actually she felt Beverly's feelings, that and she had also one look that she was a little bit jealous of Janice. And I think this is the first time we get hints that there's some kind of a romance also between Picard and Beverly Crusher. There was also a moment that Janice was explaining to, I thought it was Riker and Beverly Crusher as well, but also Picard, that what they have been doing, especially to Data, because Data was reading up of all the research of Dr. Manheim, so they could beam down to the planet and restore this time experiment. And there was that moment that Dr. Crusher said, well, I'd like to do some tests on you too, because maybe because you have been shielded off by the whole experiments, I want to see the difference. And she thanked Dr. Crusher for it, and she kissed Picard on the cheeks, and you saw Riker, Data, and Beverly looking at him as a, whoa, what the hell is this?
Yeah, I think they were all shocked that she did that.
Yeah, but also I think it's the captain, and the captain has some kind of a respect, a dignity, he's the highest rank, so you're not immediately thinking of, oh, the captain is in love, or oh, that's I want to know more about this because it's the love interest of the captain. So and you could see Picard's reaction on that, because he was reacting like, oh guys, there's nothing, she's just an old friend. And Beverly had that incision of, look, Doctor, if I can't I do need to know what's happening in the lab, because without that I can't find a solution to may be healing Dr. Manheim at this point, because his health is getting more bad every minute. So she has no faith in that he will be healed again.
If they don't close the opening, he won't get better if they don't close the opening to whatever that he was doing.
Yeah,
so basically, if it stays on, it gets worse, I guess.
Yeah, because there is, I think, in about every 20 to an hour period of time that there will be a time distortion, and it was not only on the planet, but it was also miles and light years away from that planet. That's why the Enterprise was affected by it.
Yeah.
So once again, Data was the one who solved the problem. But did you notice when he was on the planet and he was realigning those crystals, or antimatter it was, did you notice that he had the emotion of fear? How he reacted?
Yeah, like he was nervous about doing it.
That was not Data.
No.
And when that time distortion came and there were 3 Datas, it was like he reacted like a human.
Yeah. He's like, which one of us? When do we do it? Like, he wasn't acting like an android, he was acting more human than android.
Yeah. And not only that, I don't know, it was like Data was half android, half human in this episode.
Yeah, maybe it was the time distortion that did that to him.
Yeah, but he's a machine. It doesn't have to matter. And the only thing that would have those emotions and feelings with Data is if he had his emotion chips in, and he didn't, because it's still we still are in the first season. There was also the moment that this time experiment, they closed the gap, and Dr. Manheim woke up and was completely healthy, and Dr. Crusher was really overwhelmed and intrigued by that. But then there was that conversation between Janice and Dr. Manheim, and you know, that conversation, it was similar what we see in all crazy scientist and wife conversation in Star Trek. It's exactly the same. And once again, he said to Janice, well, this time it's going to be different, and we have the data now, so we're going to do it different, and we're going to succeed. We need to go back to the planet. And there was one thought I had with this, and that is, how can you be so selfish again?
Yeah, like, why would you want to go down there to mess with that thing again? And I'm surprised she wanted to go down there again with him.
I think that's just love. And she, like all wives of those crazy scientists, in one way they understand them. But Picard was also in the room, and he was really the third wheel of this, and you really saw his reaction on that conversation, and you could see his emotions with, okay, I really have blew it 22 years ago, and now I have lost her. Picard eventually invited her to come and join him on the holodeck, and he put that program on of the Paris cafe, and And when she saw that, she was really overwhelmed. She never had sound like that. And she said, well, memory is floating back, and why are we here? And he said, well, I just want to say proper goodbye. And he had champagne, and they had the view, and they talked a little. And then she ended up leaving quite quickly, if I must say. And I think you could see really of Picard like, okay, this was it. But, you know, that cafe gave the same atmosphere and impression like when Riker was in that New Orleans bar when he was playing trombone and minuet. I had the same vibe with that. So what do you think about really a romance between Picard and Beverly Crusher?
It seems like they might have one, because they both seem interested in each other a lot.
Well, I think so too, and I think that the fans always had said that they had to be together, but they still have that. I think they still have that between them, as in Jack Crusher, because Jack Crusher was her husband, and Jack Crusher was his best friend.
Yeah, and Jack also died on a mission under Picard.
Yeah. And we also, of course, I think that was one of a two-parter episode. I can't remember which season that was, but that also with Inner Light? Was it with Inner Light?
Well, no, it was an episode with this young kid whose mother got killed. And
no, that's not what I was thinking of. I was thinking about that he was an old man. He was on his vineyard.
Yes.
LaForge was come and visit him, and they, for fuck's sakes, they were visiting Data, and Data even had gray hair and smoked the pipe.
Well, I think that's called All Good Things.
I think so, yeah, but there were also that time distortions, and there was that Beverly has her own ship, and that was a medical ship, and he was on it, and
that might be the one.
That they mentioned that Beverly and Picard were married.
Oh.
Can't you remember that one? I
think that's called All Good Things, because that was a two-parter.
Okay.
And so was Inner Light was only a one episode, and that's the episode where he plays the flute.
Yeah.
And I forget the guy's son that was in it. I think it was his son, Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, that was his son. I thought his name is David.
I don't remember.
But okay, that's fine. Okay, so we are at the end of the episode. Picard said, okay, lay in a course to Serona 8 for the short leave. And Riker was talking about this club, and he said, well, it's very famous. And Picard knew right away which club it was. So he said, okay, you can take me there, but you're buying all the drinks. That was funny in a way.
You're buying the drinks.
We never seen Picard much have that free time and relaxing and having fun. And that's what I think that's what one thing the fans are loving about Captain Pike. Captain Pike is just, okay, there is a time of business, but there's also time of fun. And there are really, I don't know if you already have seen some of it, but I am up to date with Strange New World, and I really can recommend it, you guys. We really are back to TOS, and the writing is good. The actors are good. Last week episode was super fun to watch, but I think also the actors were super fun to make it, because it wasn't like in a fantasy world, like a fairy tale in a medieval time. So
Ooh.
That was really funny.
I love medieval type stuff.
Yeah, it was really funny. You're really going to like that. They really have done a good job with it. Really, I just put my the recap of it this morning on the Orana Talks podcast. So if you guys like to hear about that, you can go to there. But it is really, really nice. And in one way, this reminds me a little bit also, because it's all centered also in like short leave. It reminds me of the episode of TOS of short leave, but it also reminds me of how the holodeck could be a comfort zone of relaxation.
Well, with the holodeck, you can bring up any type of thing you want to do. Either relax like on a beach, or be Worf and fight other creatures.
Yeah, and it's okay. It's really that I'm saying it's I like this episode. But okay, it's a lot of things that is happening. So it was your turn, Amanda, for a question.
I'm wondering, do you guys think, could a time loop actually ever happen in space? And do you think a time loop could even happen on Earth and you wouldn't know about it? What do you think? Could something like that happen?
Maybe in space, but I don't think on Earth, because Earth, you see with gravity, and time in space is very different than time on Earth.
Yeah, that's true. So, yeah, could a time loop actually happen in space? Could, like, it repeat itself? That's what I'm wondering. Do you guys think that?
Oh, that's a nice and good question. So there's only one thing we still need to do, and that is rating this episode.
Mm.
I think I will rate this episode an 8.
Yeah, I'll give that one an 8 too. An 8 too. Sorry, I coughed. An 8. Oh, there we go. Got it out.
Yeah, I think that's a nice figure to give it, or score to give it. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, Amanda, is there something you'd like to add? If there's something we didn't talk about.
Can't really think of anything that we didn't talk about. It was a good episode.
It was a good episode. It was in a way maybe too much what happened in there for those, what is it, 40 minutes normal? It's an episode?
Yeah, usually it's around a 40-some minute episode.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Amanda.
Uh-huh.
And, well, we will talk in 2 weeks again for the next episode.
Yeah, which one? I forget what the title is.
Let me see. The next one is Conspiracy.
Ooh, that one. I think that's the one with the bugs.
I can't remember.
The bugs and the guy's head gets blown off, I think. I think that's the episode.
Oh, you mean with those parasites?
Yeah, that.
Okay.
I think that's the one. The head and the chest explodes on the guy. Well, probably because they shot him.
Wasn't that the admiral and that one officer that was they thought that Picard had the parasite as well. But it wasn't.
Yeah, the admiral beat up Riker too.
Well, we have to wait for 2 weeks again to see which episode it really is, and then we of course recapping again. Guys, another thing, we really like you to comment on the episodes, because we really like to know what you guys think about it and how we are doing, and just talk with us about the episode we recap and what do you like about it and what rating you will give it, because it would be nice even for us to know what you guys think about. And this podcast is really also to connect with you guys, and not only to listen about it, what we think about it, but we like to know, and other people like to know, what you think about it. That is one of the reasons that I made this podcast, is to connect with you guys, or connect with everyone, every trekker, every trekkie, or just a Star Trek fan, and make the conversation agreeable for everyone and for every fan.
Yeah.
So
we like to get your guys' feedback. Come on, comment. We don't bite.
No, we won't bite. So
unless you want us to.
So you can reach out on, of course, the Facebook group and the YouTube channel. And it would be nice if we could do that for a change. And just, have a nice conversation about that. Well, guys, we will see you in 2 weeks. Live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper. This Friday is Canada Day, guys. So if any of you are from Canada, happy Canada Day on Friday.
Dear listeners, thank you for listening, and join us in 2 weeks for a new episode recap. In the next episode, we will recap the episode Conspiracy. Girls Talking Trek is also to listen, follow and subscribe on Anchor, Google Podcast, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcast, the Facebook group and the YouTube channel. If you'd like to comment on the episode or talk with us about the Star Trek episode we just recapped, you can reach out on the Facebook group or the YouTube channel of Girls Talking Trek. I also like to tell you about my other podcast, Orenda Talks. In this podcast, I talk about books, movies, fandoms, and other geek things. On this podcast, I also have an extra episode series in which I will talk about everything Star Trek. You can find Orenda Talks on the YouTube channel and the Facebook group. We will see you in 2 weeks. Live long and prosper.